friends! Welcome to the ANA podcast. This is Anja speaking. I was recently on maternity leave, and so I am back in action. Hello. It's been a while since I've been here. It's just going to be me today. I thought it would be nice kind of introduction back into getting into the swing of things and recording and stuff like that. So I really wanted to do an episode kind of like how Ashley did about what her favorite books were. And so today I'm going to be talking about what my favorite books are. At number 5, I'm sorry, Ashley, that this is the same book that you have on your list, but I just can't stress it enough. It's Tactics by Khokl. This book is about how to share your faith with others and have conversations about what you believe and why. It's basically, as Ashley had said before, it's asking people lots of questions using the Columbo method in getting them to think about why they believe what they believe, and having evidence to support their claims. This is a super powerful apologetics tool that I've used to open up conversations with my friends, my acquaintances, my family. It's a really, really powerful tool. Again, it's not the Bible. I'm not saying that this is like the end all be all, but I have definitely found that it's a very helpful tool in knowing how to evangelize and share your faith. So definitely go check it out. Along with all the other books, they're going to be linked below. My number 4 on my list is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice is I think it's a work of fiction. Yeah, I think that's the correct term. It's a work of fiction set back in, I don't know, probably the 1800s, something like that. And it's about the drama behind getting a husband. Back in the day, the way that it worked in England was it was kind of like a caste system almost, where if you were born a rich man, then you stayed a rich man. If you were born into a poor family with no estate and no money, then you stayed very poor. And basically you tried to just marry within your caste system. So it's a dramatic book about a family of a mother, a father, and 4 girls. And it tells the love stories of each one of these girls. Maybe it's 5 girls, actually. One of them ends up never getting married, I think just staying home forever with her parents. But the book is centered around the main character, whose name is Elizabeth Bennet. And she falls in love, and she's like way too practical and, has a lot of prejudice against certain people in certain caste groups or in different stages of life. And so it's just really funny and witty, and it's definitely a long read, but if you like romance novels and a wholesome ending, then I think this book is definitely for you. This book is also the catalyst for a lot of other spin-off books like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and like a lot of other just kind of silly movies. But I'm like a team original kind of girl, you know what I mean? Like, I like the original Jane Austen version. The movie is also really, really good. If you enjoy just a dramatic, long, rainy day movie, like if you have like a solid like 2 or 3 hours, like the movie's pretty good too. But I shouldn't be talking about movies because this is about books. So at number 3, I have Mama Bear Apologetics by Hilary Morgan Ferrar. Now, I was debating whether or not to put this one on this list because even though it's called Mama Bear Apologetics, this woman who wrote the book herself is not married and does not have children. So I a little bit hesitated to put this on the list, but at the same time, I really, really loved her educational background. She's done a lot of research on a lot of the topics relating to children and the social issues that Christian children are facing nowadays. And so I guess from a research standpoint and from like my scientific brain teacher brain, I really appreciate her going so in depth and like researching all this stuff. So basically it's a very, very in-depth book about how to use apologetics with your children in knowing like how to explain certain things in culture to your kids. That was a long-winded way to just say it's an apologetics book. And basically she uses this method called the ROAR method. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. I'm so sorry. It's been a while since I've read the book. It's a very, very in-depth, very heavy sort of book. So it's one of those things like you definitely need to set aside anything else. Like it's not a light read by any means. Like you need to set aside like a time where you can just focus on doing that. Like if you have kids around, if you're a mom, busy mom. But yeah, I would definitely recommend like doing this book as like a book study with like a group setting. I think it would make a really good like book study. I'm gonna also say not make it a Bible study because this book is not the Bible. I feel very strongly about that too. Like if you're gonna study a book, you need to call it a book study. Like if you were gonna study this book as a tool for apologetics, do that. But like this is not a Bible study at all. So anyways, yeah, it covers a lot of topics like gender and sexuality and what are some of the other topics? Well, that's the big one in it. So and that's, you know, that's a big topic in today's culture as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth a read. Very interesting statistics, very interesting points that she makes. Again, I would recommend that you compare what she says to the Bible as well. Number 2 on my list, it was, oh my gosh, this book was such a close first for me, but it's going to have to be number 2 because of just my favorite book. So, but I'm just going to say this definitely was a very, very close first. And well, but it's a second. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, okay, just get to the book, Anja. So, okay, my number 2 is You're Not Enough, and That's Okay, Escaping the Toxic Culture of Self-Love by Allie Beth Stuckey. Now, this book is about, well, obviously what the title is about. It's about escaping the toxic culture of self-love, and she goes through a lot of the different things and lies that culture tells us, especially as women, and she combats those lies in each chapter with truth from the Bible. And it's really powerful because in our culture, it tells us that, you know, we need to love ourselves more. We need to, like, that's the problem. Our ultimate problem is not loving ourselves enough, which obviously if you read the Bible, that's not the case at all. Our problem is sin. And you know, when we recognize, like, this is the foundation of the gospel, is like when we recognize that we don't have it all together, like we are sinners and we are desperately in need of a savior. We need Christ. Like we are not enough, and that's okay. Like that's the basic gist of the book as well. And so I really appreciate her connection to the gospel as well as connecting to culture. I think, you know, her speaking truth of God's word and comparing them to what's happening in our world today it's a commentary that needs to happen. And I really love this book a lot. Now, before I get into my number 1 favorite book of all time at this time in my life at 25 years old, it's obviously going to change, my number 1 favorite book ever. But before I do that, I'm going to go through some of my honorable mentions and just give a brief synopsis of them as well. So some honorable mentions for me would be The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's set in the roaring 1920s, right before the market stock market crash. And it's just a time of glamour and glitz and a kind of tragic romance story. I mean, it's very, very melancholic because the romance story that's in it is super depressing. Sorry for any spoilers, but in comparison to like the glitz and the glamour of the background and the setting. So definitely a really, really good read. I read it in high school. Haven't read it since. I've read it a couple of times since, but yeah, it's just kind of a good read. If you're looking for a book to read, it's a good read. My next honorable mention is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Again, I am such a sucker for romance novels, but this is such a sweet book about this girl who was cast off by her family, and she just has this personality about her that is like persevering and kind and just, she's plain on the outside, but she's absolutely just the most gorgeous person on the inside. And so I really, really love that book because I think from a young age, as a young girl, impressionable teenage girl, I was very influenced with, trying to make myself, look better than I was. And this book was just such a good reminder to me that it's not about what you look like on the outside. Like, it's better to be a person who's beautiful on the inside. So yeah, I think that's definitely, it deserves a place on my honorable mention list. Another one, I have a common theme of books. It's like a period drama romance again, but here we go. This is Emma by Jane Austen. Jane Austen, again, one of my favorite authors, also wrote Pride and Prejudice. Emma is, again, a romance novel about a girl who is just kind of spoiled rotten and has everything going for her in life and thinks of herself very, very highly, and she's just kind of taken down a few notches. And the humbling process for her is, it's pretty interesting in that, like, she likes to meddle with everyone else's life and have an opinion about everyone else's romantic life. And then when it happens to her, she's never obviously had any sort of romance in her life. And so when it finally happens to her, it's quite takes her back, and it's really hilarious and funny and witty. So if you like romance novels, once again, wholesome, good, 10 out of 10 would recommend. My last honorable mention before I get to my number one favorite book of all time is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. This book is a book that I was introduced to at 4th grade, and we had a student teacher who read this book to us. And it was the first time that I've ever cried over a book. Like, I loved this book so much. It's a story about this little toy rabbit, and he belongs to this little girl, and he's just so spoiled rotten and just thinks so highly of himself. And then one day he gets lost from his little girl, and it's just the journey of how he gets back to her. And oh my goodness, it's so cool. It's such a sweet book. Definitely a good kids book for sure. Fun story. So when I was in 4th grade, they had the book fair, and right after that my teacher read this book to us, I really, really, really wanted to buy it. And so I saved up all of my money. I got all my money from my allowance, and I went to the book fair and I bought the book for $10. And that's the book that I have actually now sitting on my bookshelf here at my house. So, and I would just, I would reread it. I probably read it like 3 times through, right after I got it. And every time I would read it, I would just start crying. And fun story too, after I not graduated from college, when I was doing my student teaching, I had the opportunity to be in a 4th grade classroom for my student teaching placement. And I decided as one of the books that I was going to read that book to them, and they also loved it. So, yeah, it's just super cool how, things that you love, you're able to share with others. So, anyways. And drum roll, please. Actually, I'm not going to do a drum roll because I'm sitting on my toilet in my bathroom right now recording. I don't really think there's anything around me that I could drum roll on, but okay, well, my number 1 favorite book of all time is The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. Now, this book is from the series Chronicles of Narnia from C.S. Lewis, and I love the last book so much. It's a book about all of the culmination of the entire series basically coming to fruition, and I think it's definitely not a perfect representation of what the end times is going to be like, but I think C.S. Lewis did a really, really good job in kind of depicting what it could possibly look like. So, again, there is kind of cheating because, like, the entire series is also my favorite. So, but, like, so you kind of have to read the whole series before you can understand the last book. But I love the last book so much because all of the characters end up together, all of the, evil is defeated, and I'm sorry for the spoilers, by the way, but, it's just so beautiful. A lot of the book is, it's kind of scary at times, and, like, the characters don't really know what's going on at times because evil is prevailing, and then, Aslan comes and swoops in and, is heroic and saves everyone. So I love that book so much. It's one of my favorites for sure. If you haven't, you probably know some of the more famous books that have been made into movies, like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and Prince Caspian. Those are also really good. Other books in that series are also The Horse and His Boy, and The Silver Chair, I believe. I'm probably missing one. Oh, The Magician's Nephew, which is the first one. So again, if you haven't read those books, you definitely need to. They are genuinely life-changing. It helps give you a good insight into kind of what the life of almost being a Christian is, I guess. And some of the struggles that are just so genuinely human. I think C.S. Lewis is one of those authors that really, he gets humanity because he's studied the Bible and he had such a deep relationship with the Lord. Of course, his story is he was an atheist before he became a Christian, and so he had every reason to, not believe in God, and yet his heart was softened, and he went on to write some of the most influential Christian books of our time. So, again, you need to check that out. Read the entire series, read it a couple of times through. Sometimes I missed a few things when I had read it like the first time, but yeah, read the entire series. It's so good. Yeah, so that's my list of top 5 favorite books of all time. Again, I will link the Amazon links to purchase these books below. You can also probably get them at your local library with a library card for free, so you don't have to purchase them if you don't want to. Just thanks for coming along. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. Ashley, I am so looking forward to getting back into recording episodes with you. And we'll talk at you later. Bye.